So in the Lost Octave, I shared this image of the Last Supper because it was actually, I remember it so clearly. It was Christmas Eve on 2023. And I was just writing the Lost Octave book, and it was Christmas Eve, which happens to be my favorite day of the year, by the way. It's just the best that I just love Christmas Eve. And it was Christmas Eve, and I could feel something really special was happening. I was writing the Lost Octave. I was in this really wild transmission time of writing thousands of words a day. And I just felt this magic appearing. And then I woke up Christmas morning at about 6 a.m. and I could just see all of a sudden that the Last Supper painting, that the exact animation of the characters were the constellations, and that Da Vinci had painted the characters and their motion as the constellations. And I immediately got out my notepad and I started drawing this and starting to see if that was true. And you can really see for yourself that if you look at the table here, from left to right, this is moving in procession. So moving in the way in which the zodiac moves. So we have Aries and Taurus. And you'll notice here, Aries here has this strong head. He's standing up. He's the head of the table, or Aries governs the head. And then here you have the neck right here of Taurus. And you have the two hands here of Gemini. And then this is where it becomes interesting, because we have Cancer that's behind here of Leo that's leaning on the table. You can see it's exactly the same lines. We have Virgo, which is also in the Da Vinci Code was spoken of as Mary Magdalene. Then you have the Christ. We have Libra. Look at the two arms. He's holding his hands out here as a balance. Behind this is Scorpio, who's pointing his stinger, his finger up towards the galactic center. Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and then Pisces. And if you look right here, he has his two hands out exactly like the two fish. So this is really interesting to see that perhaps Da Vinci was weaving in, or pretty much knowing now that Da Vinci was weaving in to the story of the Last Supper, was weaving in all of astrology. And what you'll notice is, and some of the work that Robert Edward Grant has done, is that he realized that the Last Supper painting is actually the same inside room as the King's Chamber. So that's really interesting that now the Last Supper is about astrology, and it's about the King's Chamber in the Giza pyramid. And what you'll notice is that along the top here, it's actually moving backwards. And what Robert Grant had found is that right here on the wall, there was a picture of a bull. And this indicates to us that there is a procession that's moving on the table and a precession that's moving on the walls. Well, that's exactly the same idea of the procession and precession in astrology. And so when you do that, that moves Leo into the center of the wall, and Leo is ruled by the sun. And who is directly underneath but the Son of God? So the walls are precession, and the table is procession. Well, that's the zodiac. And then right underneath here, you'll see there's constellations. And that's because something really profound happened when I worked on this with Robert Grant, of finding all of the constellations that he'd done drawings on the walls in the king's chamber, and you can actually find this video on YouTube, is that he'd done drawings that he was seeing images on the walls in the king's chamber, bearing in mind there are no hieroglyphs in the king's chamber. And as he was showing this to me, I said to him, Robert, I actually know what those images are. And he said, what are they? And I said, they're actually all of the deacons of astrology. They're the 36 deacons of astrology. And you find the 36 deacons in astrology in Egypt, in the temple of Dendera. It's known as the Dendera stone. And so when we orientated all of this, I realized that Da Vinci is painting this scene showing the three walls, and like in cinematography or film, that you, the observer, are the fourth wall. It's known as the fourth wall. Well, I started to question, well, where would we be standing if we were seeing this as astrology? Where would we be standing? Well, we know that opposite Leo, which is the Sphinx, opposite that is Aquarius. So Da Vinci was painting this image that I realized that he's painting it from the view of the age of Aquarius. And so that we would recognize that this was all about the astrological alignments of the Last Supper, representing the zodiac, representing the king's chamber, representing that in the age of Aquarius, we would see the patterns. And so how profound is that we are actually standing in the age of Aquarius, viewing the Last Supper? And so, of course, when you look at the ceiling here, there are actually 36 slots in the ceiling, which is representing the 36 deacons, because the Dendera stone is on the ceiling. And of course, it's now been moved to the Louvre in France, where you can go and see it. So this is pretty profound, because we're now seeing that art and these esoteric studies and everything that we're aligning. So Da Vinci did the Vitruvian Man and he did the Last Supper, and both are coordinating to the stars, to the cosmic human, to the movement of us through the zodiac. So the final part to this that I only found maybe 2 days ago, I was wondering, I reviewed this and I thought, well, where's the 13th and 14th sign then? What does that mean? Because I originally thought that this would be this is Mary Magdalene, but yet this is occupying the Virgo position here. But of course, you see this massive gap, which is interesting because maybe there's something here. But I looked at this as, well, Aries and Taurus, and then in the 14th sign, before Gemini should be Orion. Well, look what is right here between Taurus and Gemini is a hand. And what hand is it? But it's a right hand. I could not believe it. That right here in the painting, in the exact position where Orion's right hand should be, is a right hand. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable to see that that is exactly where that is. And so, of course, as I looked to where Sophia would be, remembering it's her right foot, and I was wondering, well, how is there going to be a foot here? But of course, right here, exactly where the galactic center would be, what is here but another right hand? Exactly where her right foot would be. And of course, our hands and our feet are like mirror images of each other. And so two right hands matching the right hand of Orion and the right foot of Sophia are exactly in the right places on the Last Supper painting. And so this is, I'm sharing this for the first time. This is a brand new revelation of aligning the stars. And so it's either some amazing coincidence or Da Vinci himself actually knew and encoded the 13th and 14th sign into the Last Supper painting as well. And so if that would be the case, then that's the symbols that we need for our entire zodiac to be the 14 zodiac signs. And the Christ is the sun that moves through all 14 on the table. And of course, the idea of the table is very interesting. He has a dish right here symbolizing the rotational, cyclical motion. And what does the table represent? Well, has anybody heard of the round table? King Arthur's round table. Why was it a round table? Because it was a round table because it's the zodiac. And how many nights were there? Well, it's the same process. You had King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. But what many people don't know is that Lady Guinevere is the Knight of Knights. And so again, the same process of the 12 disciples, 12 knights, Christ, King Arthur, Mary Magdalene, Lady Guinevere. 14 all the way. And it's that 13th and 14th that is the divine union, the masculine and the feminine, Isis and Osiris. And when they come together, they fulfill the prophecy of the unified being. And that's exactly what we're moving into the age of Aquarius. It's the two fish weaving as one into the two rivers of duality, of yin yang, working as one. It's no longer yin yang as a separate energy. It's that two forces are complements to each other, and we get to be walking the middle way of the Tao.